Good evening and welcome to BATV News. I'm Keneal Gale. The state of emergency will not be extended. That's the decision coming out of Parliament after a marathon sitting last evening, which ended close to midnight. The government was seeking an extension of the states of emergency in sections of St. James, St. Catherine and Kingston. However, without the opposition's support, they did not get the required two-thirds majority. Jamila Maitland tells us more.
After some 7 hours of debate on the extension of the state of public emergency, the motion, which needed a two-third majority, failed after parliamentarians voted 32-20 along party lines. Opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips argued that his side could not vote on the resolution as it is unconstitutional. He noted that of the 3,700 detained during the months of state of emergency, only 179 were charged.
99% of what is done in a state of emergency can still be done without a state of emergency.
He's recommending more zones of special operations ZOSO.
We support the extension of the ZOSOs. We call for more ZOSOs to be considered and instituted. But we cannot, Mr. Speaker, given our constitutional responsibilities, support the further extension of the states of emergency. Thank you.
And opposition spokesman on national security Fitz Jackson argued that he's not pleased with the inhumane conditions that individuals arrested are kept in.
The Prime Minister never report anything about the sanitary condition that prevail in the detention centers. None of the reports that came in this House spoke to those inhumane conditions that the Director of the Public Defender informed this House of.
But a very passionate Prime Minister Andrew Holness argued that the points raised by the opposition does not warrant the rejection of the emergency powers.
This concern as a reason, as a basis for not continuing the public state of emergency is hypocritical, it is duplicitous, it is unreasonable. More than that, it is opportunistic.
He explained that under the extreme powers, no inmate detained has been physically harmed, nor has there been any reported cases of abuse in comparison to what happened under previous administration.
You cannot compare this state of emergency to the state of emergency that was called in West Kingston. You cannot compare the state of emergency to the 1976 state of emergency. And you cannot compare this period of policing using emergency powers with the period of policing using the Suppression of Crimes Act.
The vote now means that the St. James SOE will end on January 31, 2019, the St. Catherine North SOE on January 2, and the SOE in sections of the corporate area on January 7. For BATV News, I'm Jamila Maitland.
Meanwhile, the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce and the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce say the states of emergency should not end until a suitable crime plan replacement is found. Sajana Small has that story.
The president of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce says the state of emergency has served its purpose and it should be removed, but only after a clear crime plan has been put forward.
We're of the view that the anti-crime measures, in particular the ZOSOs and the state of emergencies, have served the purpose. And really the government really needs to indicate how will it move from current state to what should be the normal mode of operation for the security forces. It's well timed that the state of emergency should be removed, but we don't believe it should be removed without a very clear plan around how we will manage it or how the government will manage it going forward.
Mr. Distant notes that the state of emergency has been successful in reducing crime in the areas it's implemented. That's why it's important that a replacement be found before it's removed.
Given the successes that have taken place, reducing the crime in the murder in St. James by 72%, and the reduction in shootings by 63%. I mean, those are huge improvements, and we don't want to lose the benefit of what has been achieved by removing the state of emergency without a plan of action in place.
He says members of the private sector have asked for a meeting with the government and the opposition to address concerns raised about the state of emergency, especially as it relates to human rights abuse.
We have issued a recent statement between the JMEA, the PSOJ, and the JCC, where we're calling for an urgent meeting with the leadership of both the government and the opposition, because we want to address these concerns. We are mindful of the treatment of detainees and the broader human rights issues that have been raised. But crime in itself is one of the biggest infringements of the rights that we are trying to protect. So, there are two contending rights that we've got to be able to find a balancing between the two.
In the meantime, President of the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce, Winston Lawson, says any new crime-fighting plan should involve the level of cooperation between the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the Jamaica Defense that he has seen under the state of emergency.
So we understand that there are imperfections with the ESM, but largely the benefit of saving lives is what we consider most important. Oh, I'm seeing a lot of collaboration between the Jamaica Defense Force and the Jamaica Constabulary Force. A lot of intelligence-driven operations are being carried out, and they are producing the results that we want to see.
For BATV News, I'm Shoshana Small.
In the meantime, parliamentarians continued to spar during yesterday's sitting about the damning Auditor General Petrojam report. Yesterday morning, Leader of Government Business in the House, Carl Samuda, halted the sitting of Parliament's Public Accounts Committee, PAC, arguing that it was inappropriately convened. However, during the lower house's sitting later in the day, House Speaker Pernell Charles denounced Mr. Samuda's action. Here's more.
A frustrated House Speaker trying to calm enraged parliamentarians after it was revealed that the morning's Public Accounts Committee PAC sitting ended abruptly. PAC Chairman Mark Golding read contents of a letter he received during the meeting.
This serves to advise you that due to the fact that there was no majority decision of the committee to convene a meeting of the PAC, I have been instructed by Minister Carl Samuda, leader of government business in the House of Representatives, to withdraw the services of the staff of the House of Parliament on these proceedings with immediate effect. That was a disgraceful act.
However, Leader of Government Business Carl Samuda pointed out that the sitting to review the Auditor General's Petrojam report was scheduled for December 18. He said this was the date agreed by all PAC members.
What we witness here today is raw, unadulterated, scandalous, unworthy attempts of politicizing a very serious matter.
Leader of Opposition Business Philip Paulwell acknowledged that the meeting was scheduled for the 18th. However, he said the changes were relayed to the government PAC members, but some members said they didn't receive it.
When I looked at the agenda, there was another meeting scheduled at Parliament for 10 a.m. this morning, and it was not PAC meeting.
Even the letter from the clerk that state that the majority of the members were not available today. And as such, none of us were advised of that.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Holness noted that these changes would normally be done through adequate notice. He said the opposition cannot summon government members to an unannounced meeting. In the meantime, Mr. Samuda, who claimed he was acting on behalf of the Prime Minister, reminded the House that Opposition Leader Dr. Peter Phillips had recommended that the PAC sitting to review the Petrojam report for the middle of January 2019, one which the government fast-tracked a month earlier.
The fact that there was no agreement by a majority of the members to have a meeting apart from that previously agreed by the committee renders this meeting as invalid as a committee meeting.
But an undeterred House Speaker said he was disappointed in Mr. Samuda's action.
Mr. Samuda has no such authority. Mr. Samuda has advised me he gave no such advice. 1 minute, let me say this.
The House Speaker has ordered a report. For BATV News, I'm Jamila Maitland.
And when we come back, not true, Transport Authority refutes union's sick-out claim. This and more after the break. Welcome back. The Transport Authority is this evening denying claims by the National Workers Union NWU that 85% of its route inspectors called in sick on Monday. The Transport Authority says, contrary to the NWU's claim, only 11% of its route inspectors attached to the Kingston Metropolitan Region called in sick, and none of the authority's normal operations were affected. Meanwhile, the authority is contending that both the union and the employees it represents have been given regular updates on the status of the wage negotiations. The Transport Authority points out that it continues to host regular regional staff meetings, with one such meeting being held on Monday at its Maxfield Avenue Operations Division in Kingston. The Jamaica Broilers Group is reporting an 18% increase in group revenues for the quarter ended October 27, 2018. The company's unaudited financial results were released recently. Sashana Small has more.
For the period which ended October 27, Jamaica Broilers Group made $13.6 billion in revenues. This is an 18% increase from the $11.5 billion it made in the corresponding period last year. Gross profit for the quarter was $3 billion, a 3% increase over the previous year. The Jamaica operations reported segment result of $1.4 billion, which was $299 million above last year's segment results of $1.1 billion. The company said this growth was due to increased poultry sales and enhanced inventory management. Total revenue for its Jamaica operations showed an increase of 7%, while total revenues for its U.S. operations increased by 20% over the previous year. This, the company says, was driven by increased sales of its main products, fertile eggs and baby chicks, as well as feed sales from the acquired feed mill. However, the company says its U.S. operations reported a segment result of $666 million, which was a 1% decrease from the previous year result of $674 million. This decrease was primarily attributable to one-off staff cost elements and acquisition costs related to the recent feed mill purchase, but it says these cost elements are not expected to recur. The company is also reporting that the Haiti operations has increased their market share of table eggs to 34%, compared to 31% of the market at the end of the second quarter last year. And as a result, total revenue for its Haitian operations increased by 13%. The segment result amounted to $85 million, which is a $1 million or 1% below last year's segment result of $86 million. In October, Jamaica Broilers Group acquired an additional 4% stake in Haiti Broilers SA and increased its holding to 72%. In the meantime, the other Caribbean operations reported segment results of $1.2 billion, an increase of $1 billion over the corresponding quarter of the previous year. This increase is mainly due to the net results of the JBGL Stockholders Nominee Limited, driven by the unrealized fair value gains, which are eliminated upon consolidation of the group of the shares held. Meanwhile, distribution and administrative costs saw an increase of 13% over the previous year. This, it says, is primarily because of exchange movements, salary increases, increased staff complement, and distribution costs related to the recent acquisition of the feed mill. The company also incurred foreign exchange losses of $231 million. These exchange losses resulted in a 47% reduction from profits attributable to stockholders for the quarter which ended in October 2017. However, it says it's anticipating relative stability in foreign exchange as it progressed towards the end of the financial year, which ends April 27, 2019. For BATV News, I'm Shoshana Small.
Cabinet has approved several measures which it says will enhance the National Insurance Fund's sustainability and boost the adequacy of the accompanying benefits. Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark, says some of the measures include increasing the contribution rate from 5% to 5.5% effective April 1, 2019. Employers and employees will share the increase equally. Cabinet also approved a further 0.5% increase in the contribution rate, moving from 5.5% to 6% effective April 2020, which employers and employees will also share equally. Additionally, the National Insurance Scheme insurable wage ceiling will be increased for purposes of calculating the contributing amounts from $1.5 million to $3 million in January 2021, and then from $3 million to $5 million in January 2022. The Finance Minister notes that the measures are necessary due to the findings of a 2016 actuarial review of the NIS, which indicated that without an increase in the contribution rate and or other related parameters, the National Insurance Fund would have negative cash flow by 2029. This would see the sum of annual pensions and other NIF-funded benefits and administrative costs paid exceeding the annual contribution and investment income. Motorists will be paying more at the pumps come tomorrow for 87 and 90 gasoline. 87-octane gasoline will go up by 94 cents per litre to be sold for $124.40 per litre. 90-octane gasoline will also go up by 94 cents to be sold for $127.23 per litre. Meanwhile, automotive diesel oil will go down by 31 cents to be sold at $130 per litre, while ultra-low sulfur diesel will go down by 10 cents to be sold for $135.60 per litre. However, kerosene will go up by 2 cents per litre to be sold for $110.78 per litre. Propane LPG will see a decrease of 4 cents per litre to be sold for $47.13, while butane will increase by $1.88 to be sold for $54.32 per litre. Stay with us, regional and international stories after the break. Welcome back. Time now for regional and international news. Trinidad and Tobago's Minister of National Security and Communications, Stuart Young, says illegal activities such as drug use and prostitution at parties will not be tolerated. The minister's assertion comes after information about a sex island party being promoted on a private island off the coast of Trinidad and Tobago this weekend surfaced. More from TTT News.
The official website, www.sexisland.co, says the US $4,500 event includes 3 days of unlimited sex, meals and snacks, unlimited alcohol and narcotics. Minister Young, in a statement, said he's seen the reports of a suggestion that there is to be some event taking place at an island off the north coast of Trinidad, carded as a sex island party. Minister Young said he has asked law enforcement and immigration to monitor this and to make it known that such an event and the suggested actions at such event will not be tolerated by Trinidad and Tobago. The National Security Minister said he is concerned about the suggested illegality, and he's requested that action be taken to ascertain whether there is veracity to the suggested event and to be extra vigilant to prevent any such event taking place.
Cuba's government has backtracked on new restrictions on private activities that were supposed to go into effect last week. The government said the new measures were intended to combat tax evasion and off-the-books employment. Al Jazeera's Lucia Newman tells us more. She's in Havana.
The owner of this Havana apartment rents rooms to tourists. Just when new and highly unpopular restrictions on Cuba's fledgling private sector were about to go into effect last week, authorities surprised everyone.
They'd forbidden families from having more than one license, but now they've lifted the limit so that, for example, we can also sell handicrafts or food.
In another unusual response to public pressure, plans to limit private restaurants to only 50 chairs were also scrapped. 13% of the workforce has moved over to the private sector, many of them professionals who've abandoned their jobs in state-run enterprises, like mechanical engineer Hirzel Silva.
I would have preferred to earn half or a quarter of what I earn here as a cashier, just to stay in my profession, which I love. But I couldn't earn even a fraction of that, or to support my family working for the state.
The dominant state sector is struggling to keep employees, which may help explain attempts to limit small privately run businesses.
The very fact that there are categories, specific categories in which people can start their own businesses, mean that you cannot do or you cannot start a business in every area, in any area of the economy, in every sector.
New demands and restrictions have been placed even on private taxis, despite the acute shortage of public transportation. Unlike Vietnam and China, the Communist Party here still views the private sector with suspicion for many reasons, including ideological, social, and geopolitical.
Cuban government leaders are afraid that a growing and increasingly sophisticated private sector will help advance the U.S. government's anti-communist agenda here. In fact, both President Barack Obama and now President Donald Trump have repeatedly said that they want to help and encourage the private sector because they view it as an engine for political change here.
But the decision to backtrack on plans to reduce the private sector even further seems to be recognition that, like it or not, Cuba's struggling economy needs it. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera, Havana.
British Prime Minister Theresa May survived a no-confidence vote on her leadership today. Members of Mrs. May's party, upset about the Brexit deal she negotiated, moved the vote in the British House of Commons this morning. However, after the votes were tallied, 200 MPs supported Theresa May's leadership, while 117 voted against her. Here's what the Prime Minister said after the vote.
This has been a long and challenging day, but at the end of it, I'm pleased to have received the backing of my colleagues in tonight's ballot. Whilst I'm grateful for that support, a significant number of colleagues did cast a vote against me, and I've listened to what they said. Following this ballot, we now need to get on with the job of delivering Brexit for the British people and building a better future for this country. A Brexit that delivers on the vote that people gave, that brings back control of our money, our borders and our laws, that protects jobs, security and the union, that brings the country back together rather than entrenching division. That must start here in Westminster, with politicians on all sides coming together and acting in the national interest. For my part, I've heard what the House of Commons said about the Northern Ireland backstop, and when I go to the European Council tomorrow, I will be seeking legal and political assurances that will assuage the concerns that members of Parliament have on that issue. But while delivering Brexit is important, we also need to focus on the other issues that people feel are vital to them, that matter to them today, the issues that we came into politics to deal with. Building a stronger economy, delivering first-class public services, building the homes that families need. We owe it to the people who put us here to put their priorities first. So here is our renewed mission: delivering the Brexit that people voted for, bringing the country back together, and building a country that truly works for everyone.
But can you get your Brexit deal through?
Stay with us. Talking Stocks comes up next. Welcome back. Time now for Talking Stocks. 45 stocks traded today, of which 17 advanced, 23 declined, and 5 traded firm. The main JC index declined by 252 points to close at over 372,000 points. The junior index declined by 10 points to close at 3,120 points. Over 11.5 million units traded today, valued at over $77 million on the Jamaican dollar market. While on the US dollar market, more than 8,000 units traded, valued at over $2,000 US. Diamond Trading ordinary shares with more than 9.5 million units trading accounted for 82% of market volume. Sagicor Real Estate X Fund ordinary shares with over 295,000 units trading was second, and Panjam Investments with some 215,000 units trading was third, making up almost 2% of the market volume which crossed the floor. The main advancers were Dolphin Cove up $1.25 to close at $17, followed by Barita Investments up $2.27 to close at $32.07, and Panjam Investments up $2.05 to close at $65.18. The main decliners were Jamaica Stock Exchange ordinary shares down $1.12 to close at $8.88, followed by Maybury Investments down by $1.02 to close at $8.91, and Everything Fresh down 10 cents to close at $1.19. And that's the news, but before we go, a recap of our top story. The states of emergency now enforced across sections of the island will come to an end in January. This after the opposition refused to support the government's parliamentary motion for another extension. Thanks for watching. For more content, please go visit our website at batvja.com. I'm Keneal Gale. Pleasant viewing.